Okay, welcome back to this deck tech for Militia Madness. I have the second of our Jeskai week here with my commander, Jeskai Shrinekeeper. It's a 5-mana dragon, 2 and 1 of each Jeskai color. It's flying haste 3/3, which is relatively small for a 5-mana card. Nice thing though is a draw engine, so whenever it hits my opponent, it will gain a life and then draw a card. And so what we're doing with that is mainly just trying to be a control deck that gets a little bit of nice incremental value from their commander in the late game, since I'll hopefully be able to have some mana to spend on it. So I'll move that up out of the way and show you like what my win cons are, because it's surprisingly few this week, because this is indexing is hard control, with my win cons just being the inevitability of having like a commander or like Murmuring Mystic, just consistently getting a lot of value. Notably though, we're not going as hard on the instant sorcery package, so we don't have stuff like Tolarian Terror and such. Just trying to control out and go off at that nice one. But my other creatures, though, is what I would like to show is the Dragon package, which every single one of these is also an Adventure or an Omen, which is nice. So we have Stormshriek Feral, can come in, use all my mana to buff up and hurt my opponent very heavily on the turn it comes in, or just casually draw me a little bit further in my deck. Durgar Island Dragon, it nicely stuns a creature down for a turn. Doesn't literally stun it, but uses like the non-keyword stun.
Yeah.
Tap it, draw a card, and then it comes in later as a Ward 2 4/4 flyer, which is surprisingly annoying to deal with. But it's just a nice way to get through the deck until you get to that point. Then we got Sword Coast Serpent.
Love this card.
It's a 7-mana, 6/6, and then if I cast a non-creature spell, can't be blocked, so it can kill people very quickly. And then it's also just a nice little bounce spell. And then we got Fang Dragon. It's a 1 damage sweeper, Electricity style, just at sorcery speed. And then it's a 6/3 with flying. I think that's the one that has like the least viable second half, but it's still something that can kill my opponents and is inevitable. And to support my commander being a dragon and this 4-dragon package, I put in Dragonstorm Globe to help me with my mana a little bit. So now if I play my commander, which is normally a 3/3 and dice to every bolt in the game, it'll come in as a 4/4 and possibly take my opponents a little bit off guard.
Well, it puts a trigger on the stack, right? So they can still bolt it in response to the... Or does it just come in?
It does not say when it enters. It says each enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, it feels like it should be a trigger, but I don't remember because that wording is weird.
Wording is weird.
But
well, look at him. I'm not in any bolts, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And then my only other 2 creatures are Philagi Archaeologist and Augur Bolus, which are part of my cantripping package. They're just here to also gum up the board a little bit against aggressive matchups.
No Delver? Well, you said you're not going all in on
no Delver. I got a bunch of other stuff going on. Then it got Consider, Ponder, Preordain as my hard cantrips. Just the 2 best ones generally. These are 2 copies of Ponder, not Preordain. Fuck.
It's fine.
Hey, Hunter, you want a copy of Preordain?
I do, probably. But it's a different art, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, I was building this deck, and I guess I was going off of the art, and I thought this Doctor Who card was a Preordain, not a Ponder.
You're good.
That is very funny.
Continue.
But yeah, so we'll get this swapped out for a Preordain in a second. But yeah, just good card draw. Then I have what I would do is my draw refill package. So we got Lorien Revealed, also Land Searcher. I got the targets for it. Got Hieroglyphic Illumination, which can double as a cantrip if it's not good to spend all my mana to draw 2. Behold the Multiverse, which is nice because you can split up its payments into 2 equal payments of 2. Just like your nice infomercial cards. Then we got Deduce and Think Twice, which are very similar in that sense of Deduce, instant speed, draw a card, and then you can pay 2 to crack the clue later to draw another card. So it works out very nicely. I realized I kept the sleeve in my hand and not the card in my hand, so I had to do that, but yeah. You guys saw nothing. Don't worry about it. And then the other card that does basically the same thing as Deduce, Think Twice, but you have to pay 1 more mana because of the flashback cost rather than the clue stacking. But it's just nice ways that I can like draw multiple cards while like separating it up so I can make sure I use my removal efficiently at the same time.
Yep.
Okay. And then now I'll show what is my counter spell package, which starts with a versatile card, which is also a damage dealing card or potentially just getting through my deck faster. Optimally, I probably don't want to use that mode because it goes card negative, because it does an equal amount of cards, so I'm losing the card I cast. And then the other things we have for counter spells, Mirror Shell Crab, a nice potential also win con. Sorry. Then we got Loose Focus, just good that it can replicate and get to higher numbers than Mana Leak. Miscalc, can cycle it away. Counterspell is Counterspell. Mana Leak is the highest number on its base default. Condescend so that I can scry, and then Phantom Interference so that I can also potentially get like a slow win con into play in addition to being a mana leak.
Yeah, it's kind of the counter package. Is that like you go to counterspell, mana leak. All right, now what do you want to play? And a lot of like Blues focuses in that pile.
Yeah, the one that I should be playing more, but I just keep forgetting that I don't have a copy around the house is Memory Lapse.
Yeah,
because putting your opponent a turn behind is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got 2 sweepers. We got Fiery Cannonade Breath Weapon.
The Wrath of Gods of the format.
Yeah, notably, we play a bunch of dragons that don't get hit by it. None of them are small enough to die to Breath Weapon, but it's cool. Then we got Fiery Impulse as a deal damage spell. Magma Jet as a deal damage spell. I was going to play Frostbite, but I realized that it got refunded, so I just was like, okay, I'll put in another deal damage spell that I think is interesting and has the nice scry effect for this like slower deck that's trying to control more of like what it's drawing into.
This can go face, right? This can't. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Magma Jet can go face. But yeah, notably, if you did want to know what Frostbite does, is it's basically Fiery Impulse, just instead of Spell Mastery, it has, if you have 3 Snowlands, it becomes the same way as Fiery Impulse works.
Snow Mastery.
Yeah. Then Lightning Strike, which can go face, which is nice. Hypothetically, this should be Incinerate as your first choice, because that gets around Regenerate. Hey, Hunter, are you playing Regenerate?
No.
This is Incinerate. They do the exact same thing.
They can also give you an Incinerate if you want one.
No, it's perfectly fine, because I just demonstrated, like, there's very little that actually regenerates, so it is better to have those percentage points if you play against, like, Experiment 1. Sure. But it's not going to kill you if you don't have them.
Yeah, the only answers I have to dealing with Lightning Strike are countering it, and Incinerate will get countered just the same.
Yep.
So.
And then my other deal, too, is Fire Ice.
Love this card.
It can be split up nicely to deal with 2 1-damage creatures, or similar to the Durgar Island Dragon, it can tap something, but this can actually tap a permanent instead of just a creature. So if I know my opponent's going into their 4-mana commander turn, I point it to it, it's off screen. Going into their 4-mana commander turn, I can just say, on your upkeep, tap 1 land.
Yeah.
Can't cast your commander.
You can, like, really cantrip that way.
Yep. And that's how, like, I own this card heavily because I played a lot of Storm, and for a while, like, when there were a lot of Orcish Bowmasters around, it was nice to have the fire side, but against control decks that were playing, like, Force of Negations and stuff like that, you can be like, in counter spells, I'll be like, oh, you're going into, like, 3 mana? Okay, I'm going to make it so you have to hard cast your Force of Negation on my... or not hard cast. Discard your Force of Negation rather than hard casting it. So now if you had a Force of Negation, a blue spell, and a Force of Negation, you can only hold 1 up.
Yeah.
And that was, like, one of the main uses I got out of it. And so I hypothetically could do similar stuff to that. It's like, you got 2 mana up. Okay, tap your land, go to second main phase, play my... well, not my commander because that's haste, but, like, play Big Dragon. Then I got Lightning Bolt. It's Lightning Bolt. It does Lightning Bolt stuff. Scred. I got a snow package in here. So yeah, it would have been nice to also have Frostbite, but the world said, no, you can't have Frostbite.
Yeah.
Which normally that would be a good thing. Then I got Chain Lightning, which is sorcery speed Lightning Bolt. Hypothetically, in this matchup, he could play it back at me, so that could get a little awkward. But
Maybe if that happens, it'd be the first time I've ever seen it happen. Not saying it doesn't happen. It's just every video I've ever watched with someone casting Chain Lightning, no one's ever...
yeah, it's a heavily forgotten about mode. And then we got Galvanic Discharge, which is just better Fiery Impulse most of the time, because it will always be able to do at least 3. Which is very good. Then after we got through our like red removal, that's conditional on stuff having lower health, except for Scred, which is Scredden. We got our hard removal and white package, because you might have noticed you haven't really seen white cards yet. I was like looking at it as I didn't see like any like white like cards that were threats that I really wanted to run for this style of deck. So I indexed heavily into the hard removal side of it. So we have Trapped in the Screen, which is generally the best O-ring effect, because you can't do like a lot of the tricks, and it can't hit Planeswalkers, but we don't have Planeswalkers in this format.
We don't have Planeswalkers yet.
But yeah, it's like, so you can't like respond to his trigger because of how this is templated as 1 text box, but I don't have any like weird like bounds my enchantment at instant speed stuff, so I don't need to worry about it. So the ward is very relevant here, so it's harder for them to get their stuff back from under it. Then we do have O-Ring, which is the next best, because if something for some reason happens weirdly, I would like it to be 2 separate text blocks rather than running something like Banishing Light. Then we have Destroy Evil, which actually is a way we could exploit Oblivion Ring if I didn't want to just destroy evil, whatever it was.
It's nice to have one way of doing it, right? But...
yeah. But Destroy Evil here is part of our hard removal. Destroy a creature with toughness 4 or greater. Most things with big toughness also have big power, so it's just an instant speed way to take out like a Gurmag Angler or anything that's a little tougher for me to remove.
Here's my commander too.
Yep, and then it has the nice also additional text of destroying an enchantment. So if there's anything problematic like that, that's why you mainly see it in the sideboard. Then this is a card that I took from like standard lists and stuff like that, which is Ride's End. Hunter did his deck tech first, but I'm the one who added to my deck first. I take the credit.
Yeah, Morgan put me on to my Ride's End.
Yeah.
I saw it in their deck list and went, oh yeah!
Yeah, because the notable thing that is different than like other cards of this, because there are like 4 cards that do this exact same thing, except they say destroy rather than exile. So this is just nice that it can completely get something out of the game that like might be a little sticky or weird.
I can also cast for 2.
Exactly, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
And notably, it doesn't say attacking, which some of the other ones do. This one says specifically tapped.
Yeah.
So say you tap your mana dork on 1, I just immediately go exile it.
Yep.
For 2 mana. Very nice. Then we get Journey to Nowhere.
Twinsies.
Yep, which just some of the best exiling removal in the format because it's cheap and does what it needs to do.
Maybe the best white removal spell in the format.
Yeah. But yeah, after like looking into it and finding Trapped in the Screen, I am happy about it. I do think like if we want to run like any slower white decks, this should definitely see more play.
Oh, absolutely. I'm working on like a white control deck that relies on white for its removal. I'd love to play that. So you get like the Trapped in the Screens and the Oblivion Rings and things like that.
Yeah, there are at least like 4 more.
And then Heliod's Pokemon gets you access to a lot more too, because you get the pacifisms and things like that.
Yep. And then now we're on to my mana base, which you'll see I have indexed my mana base very differently from how Hunter has to facilitate snowlands. So the first ones I'll be on are Perilous Landscape and Ash Barrens. They are the ones that can search up lands very easily and also can come in untapped by themselves. Perilous Landscape is an evolving wild style one. Also has the ability to cycle it. Ash Barrens is basic land cycling, so if I do want to play it by itself, I won't have a way to get it back unless I use my Is It Boiler Works to put it back into my hand. Which I just love, especially in like slightly slower decks, like playing the bounce lands to make sure you're hitting your land drops.
Yeah.
And then, especially because I have so much deck thinning, like I could possibly like start running out later. Because I have these 4 of the, what's called New Capenna search lands. Why I chose these over Evolving Wilds effects is because, first of all, these pop immediately, which is just kind of nice. I don't have to worry about it. But
the life can be relevant too.
Yeah, the single life is actually surprisingly relevant if you're playing like a hard control deck, because you're trying to eke out and like keep as many points as possible to make sure that you have time. And so this could be upwards of 4 in a game. And notably, like they can't search for all 3 of my lands each, but I chose all 4 of the ones that can get 2 of types of lands. So we have Plains Island, we have Mountain Island, we have Mountain Plains, and then we have Plains Island. We don't have the one that can only search for a mountain. And then we have 1 of each of the snow basic land type duels.
Yep.
So Volatile Fjord, Alpine Meadow, Glacial Floodplain. I didn't do this on purpose, but I did notice I accidentally set them up in panorama order of red to red, white to white. So cool stuff.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. And then we got 5 islands of the snow variety, 1 plain so that it's searchable off of our search targets, and then 4 mountains. Like, as you saw, we only have like 5 white spells in here, but we need it for our commander. But because we have so many search sources, if I just go, oh yeah, I got blue and red covered, any of my search targets just can easily get a plains, and that's why I don't need to run as many hard like white sources. And otherwise, like I think this mana base works out nicely. Maybe you could like run another island instead of a mountain or something like that to like get to the exact percentage points of like where the mana symbols lies.
It's a shame that these decks are not legal in our format, because I'd love to know what like people could do with them if they like fine tune them a bit, but you know.
Yeah. And then
right, you have a sideboard.
Yeah, we have sideboard here, which I'll start with the easy. Double Pyroblast effects, double red Ellie Blast or blue Ellie Blast effects. Yeah. But
Catch
mine's
us
got
boarding
Chandra.
those in. That's true. Mine's got this weird staff.
Yeah. But yeah, so these will definitely be coming in, most likely anyway. And then we got Guardian of the Guild Pact, which is just a hard to deal with creature. So if I'm playing against decks where I know they don't have the removal, I can just slowly whittle them down with this, or just sit it back and say, yeah, your big stuff is doing nothing for most of the game very safely.
Yeah.
It also synergizes pretty heavily with the because the anti-other control decks package, effectively. So if another person's playing control decks, I can start like getting some value with this. And I'd probably also bring in Guardian of the Guild Pack because it's hard for other control decks to kill it. And then now I have ways to easily take back the Monarch as well.
It occurs to me that people are going to look at my tech and not find the Monarch package in it. Slots.
Yeah.
That's essentially why I'm not on it.
And then I got Anti-Graveyard and Relic of Progenitus.
Yep.
Just does the stuff.
I think Morgan and I agree that this is like the best one available.
Yeah, and then my only other like anti-graveyard right now is Dawnbringer Cleric, because it's flexible, can also help deal with enchantments, can gain life against aggro decks, is a 1/3 against aggro decks, and its little buddy here is a part of the other anti-aggro package, Erishin Cleric.
Yeah.
If I board both these in, this puts me up to 4 1/3s in the main deck effectively, so I can easily just block most of what aggro decks are doing. Then I got Anti-Commander here with Witness Protection, Unable to Scream. Just hold stuff down so they're not doing anything really.
Mm-hmm.
And since like my commander goes over the top, most of my win cons go over the top, I don't have to worry about attacking in and like accidentally killing them off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually surprisingly synergistic with just how my deck is built. And then I got Cast into Fire and a Braid as anti-artifact. Braid is also nice to just be another thing that can kill medium small things.
You can bring it against like the mid-range decks or whatever.
Yep, and Cast into Fire is kind of specifically over here over stuff like Tectonic Hazard and Electricity, because I already have 3 of those style of effects in the main deck. So I wanted to add like a half effect of that can also do something else that I'm not already indexed into. And so this will also come in against stuff like elves and such, because just to kill off piddly 1/1s. Not just an artifact card. And that's it for my sideboard. I think you can kind of see that like this deck was indexed a little bit more into like flexibility and trying to control multiple different types of threats rather than hard pivoting into this package goes against this specific thing. And I think that'll be interestingly reflected in how my opponent I know is going to be doing a weird thing, and I'm going to have to make some choices when we get to sideboarding, and I don't know exactly what I'll make.
Well, these 4 are still pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Awkward that a lot of my threats are white, but like, you know, Inside Out is blue and red.
Yeah.
So that's annoying.
But yeah.
That I'm now thinking of.
Yeah, that was it for the deck tech of Jeskai Shrinekeeper, and we'll see you in the gameplay a little later this week. Make sure you do all the good stuff, all the liking, sharing, subscribing, and possibly join the Discord. We don't have much going on with it right now, but we are trying to get it set up, and it'll be easier to get like stuff set up if we know there is a presence there.
Yeah. Also, I'm gonna have a lot more free time coming up, so I'll be hanging out there. I know Morgan pops in and out of there sometimes.
I check in on it.
I'm aiming for this summer to have, you know, I'm gonna be available for like looking for if you want to play some games with us. We're not gonna charge you or like a Patreon.
Yeah, no, it's like
we'll be there.
And obviously, if other people are joining, then you can play games with them too. Like, yeah. Yep.